Welcome to the Warrior Project podcast. I'm your host, Brianna, and this is your safe space to be on your self-improvement journey without judgment. I am here to help you, give you advice, and tell you my experiences so that you don't make the same mistakes. I do just want to give a little trigger warning at the beginning of this episode. We're going to be talking a lot about calories and calorie restrictions. So if that's not something that you vibe with, then I will see you in the next episode. If that is something that you're interested in hearing about, I would highly recommend sharing this episode with somebody who has been struggling with weight loss. I'm going to go over my entire experience and perspective. I've lost 11 pounds in the last 90 days after 2 years of trying and failing repeatedly at losing weight. I thought, what better day to have this conversation than today, because it is June 30th. I have been cutting since April 1st. It has officially been 90 days eating in a calorie deficit. I've lost 11 pounds, over 4.5% body fat, and over 15 total inches off of my body. And I have been more consistent than a motherfucker. I don't know exactly what more consistent than a motherfucker means, but I feel like it gets the point across. I wanted to share this experience with you because this is the first time in years that I have actually been successful at losing weight, and I have tried many times already. I genuinely thought that there was something wrong with me, that I was the only person on earth that was incapable of losing weight. I almost got to the point where I was like, are calorie deficits even real? Do they even work? So let's talk about it. Let's rewind to lockdown, March 2020. As soon as lockdown started, I worked out every day. I kind of tracked my macros. I wasn't very consistent with it. And I was very sedentary. So I did an 2-hour long workout every day, but the rest of the day I was sitting on the couch watching Netflix. And because of that, I ended up putting on a lot of weight, and I ended up getting to the heaviest weight that I've ever been. So coming out of lockdown, I decided that was something that needed to change, and I lost a ton of weight. I can't tell you how much I lost because I really wasn't tracking it too closely, but I did lose a ton of weight. I got to the leanest point that I've ever been, and then 2021 came. I went through something kind of traumatic. I was very emotionally damaged from it, so I skipped the gym altogether for, I want to say it was 2 or 3 weeks, and I just stayed in bed. I didn't eat, so I literally did not put any weight on at that point. But once I got out of bed, I started hitting the gym again, and I started eating. I started emotionally eating. You know that period where something happens and you can't eat, you physically cannot eat? That's what I went through. And then I went through the complete opposite. It was could not fit enough food in my mouth type emotional eating. So I ended up getting back to that heaviest weight that I was at, and I was very uncomfortable, just very uncomfortable in my skin because I didn't feel good. I was eating foods that didn't make me feel good. I was at a weight that I knew was not my optimal weight, and I knew I needed to do something about it. So I decided calorie deficit. That's what I did the previous year coming out of COVID. It worked for me, so let's do it again. And I did kind of. Let's be so fucking for real, I didn't, looking back, because I would track my calories, I would track my macros, but every weekend I would have a cheat meal, or I would drink with friends, or I would skip the gym. And I was taking all of these actions on a consistent basis that did not align with my goals. And I was saying, well, I need a balanced lifestyle. I need this balance. I have to go out with my friends, so I have balance in my life. I have to go to this restaurant, so I have balance in my life. And saying it out loud, it sounds ridiculous. But at the time, it made so much sense to me. And it might make sense to you if you're listening to this now. But I'm going to explain to you why I no longer view it that way. You don't have to agree with me. This definitely is my own personal point of view. But I do think it's important because I was at a place where I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why can't I lose this weight? And I wasn't seeing the bigger picture. I was just convinced that I was doing everything right, but it was impossible for me to lose weight. So So let's fast forward a little bit, because that's basically what the last 2 years have looked like for me. Trying and failing to lose weight, and really just like not seeing the bigger picture, not taking a step back and actually looking at what I was doing and seeing it for what it was. And it came down to me really sitting with myself and being brutally honest with myself. I had to get to the bottom of what I was doing wrong, because like I said, I was uncomfortable in my own skin. And sure, body positivity, self-love, self-acceptance, self-care, all the self things. But I was at this point of discomfort because I wasn't giving myself self-love. I wasn't respecting myself. Because to me, self-love and self-respect are caring for yourself and actively doing things that are bettering yourself. So fueling your body with nutritious foods, going to the gym and exercising, doing cardio for your heart health, staying hydrated so your body's functioning properly. Like, all of these things to me are self-care and showing my body respect. So it took taking a step back and being like, fuck, like I don't respect myself. Like, I'm using balance as an excuse to like disrespect myself. And I know that sounds so fucking dramatic, but it was true, because after I took that step back, I was like, okay, I have a cheat meal every weekend. I skip the gym 2 or 3 times a week. I'm not getting sufficient sleep. Like, I'm not really hydrated either. And all of these things matter, especially when your goal is something like physique related. So in this case, weight loss. I needed to be consistent with these things to actually see results. So I was like, shit, I need to be consistent. I need to do something. So I made a plan. I made a fucking plan. And this was at the end of March. I decided that I was going to start the Warrior Project's April challenge on April 1st, because I've always done the challenges here and there, like a few times a week. I've done a few months in the past, like full months, but I wanted to really like buckle the fuck down, like have the entire month pre-programmed, already ready for me. So I was like, you know what, we're doing the April challenge. We're eating in a calorie deficit. I'm gonna start meal prepping, and I'm going to vlog the entire process. So in April, I did 30 days of vlogs. This changed the game for me. I know everybody isn't like, a social media person or, cares about vlogging or anything like this. This is just what worked for me and what threw me into this consistency, because I started vlogging and I realized, holy shit, I have people watching what I'm doing. I literally cannot make excuses for myself, because I'm telling my audience that I'm in a calorie deficit, that my goal is to lose weight, and that I'm being consistent. So I literally have to be consistent in my nutrition and my training to actually lose the weight and show my audience that it's possible. So because of you guys, I had to stay consistent, and it took about a week to 2 weeks to stop having the cravings, both cravings for excuses and cravings for sweets, because I've always been a sweet girly. Like, I need a little sweet thing every day, every night basically. So after those 2 weeks, I was no longer craving the things that didn't align with my goals, because I now had created this new habit for myself, this new foundation for myself, and I was starting to feel so good. Like, at that point, I really hadn't lost any weight or anything yet, but I was fueling my body with nutritious foods. I was hydrated as fuck because I've been drinking a gallon of water every day, and I was exercising daily. So it got to a point where I just genuinely felt good because I was doing things that were good for me. And let me tell you, those vlogs changed the game for me, because you guys became my accountability partners. You became my support system through this process. And I think that I never recognized, like, I've always known, but I never really experienced how life-changing an accountability system could be until 2 weeks into this cut. And now we're 90 days in, and let me tell you something right now. If this were me 2 years ago, I would have taken this cheat day so seriously. I would have, like, I'm gonna give you the perfect example. It was either my 22nd or my 23rd birthday, and I decided it was gonna be a cheat day. That was my birthday present to myself, a cheat day. And I woke up, the first thing I did was go to Dunkin' Donuts. My breakfast was a dozen donuts. I believe we went to Moe's for lunch, so nothing really crazy for lunch. And then for dinner, I had an entire pizza, an entire large pizza, and my second dinner was IHOP. But let me tell you exactly what I ordered from IHOP. And if I can find the picture, I will put it on the screen for the people who are watching the video version. I got the birthday cake pancakes. I got an omelet with a bunch of cheese. I did extra cheese. I got French toast, and I got, what are they called? Hash browns. I ate almost all of it. So when I say I used to take cheat days very seriously, I'm not joking. And now that I have been so consistent in treating my body so respectfully, I no longer crave to have those crazy cheat days. And I never ever thought that I would get to this point. It like actually makes me feel like emotional, because I never thought I would get past that attachment to food that I just could not release. But it just took time and consistency of me being nice to myself and doing things for myself that like are actually healthy, because now I feel the difference. I feel the difference because I can just remember how I felt after that cheat day. I felt so disgusting. I felt bloated. My digestion was horrible. Like I was eating to the point where I felt like I was gonna throw up. And today is like my quote cheat day. I'm not tracking my calories today because I reward myself for my consistency the entire month throughout this cut. I eat only meal preps and only things out of my kitchen days 1 to 29 of the month. Day 30, I mainly have been eating my meal preps on these quote unquote cheat days. And then for dinner, I'm going to either the Olive Garden or the Cheesecake Factory. So I no longer have those cravings of making a whole day out of it. I just want to give myself the freedom to indulge more than I have like the whole previous month, if that makes sense. And like I said, this has just been my experience and my journey. I know everybody's is gonna look different, and sometimes your relationship with food can't be healed on your own, and that's okay. If you feel like you're at that point, then seek professional help. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. That is so fucking okay. And if you do get to that point where you reach out to somebody, that's when you know that you're ready to make that step, because you're actively recognizing like, fuck, something's wrong, I need to make a change, and I need help. And that's fucking brave. So like I said, I have now gotten to the point where I have lost 11 pounds. I have not seen the scale drop under 160 in the last 2 years. Let's say 150, because I fluctuated a little bit. I've reached like 159 a few times in the last few years, but mainly I've sat at about 162 to 165 at about 33% body fat. This morning I weighed in at 149 pounds. My goal for this cut is to reach 145 pounds. So I do have a little bit of a ways to go, but I am gonna tell you what I've done thus far. First and foremost, this accountability system that you and I have had bouncing the fuck off of each other has changed the game for me. So find an accountability buddy, find a support system, whether it's, in the Warrior Project's Facebook group, or you have a group of friends who want to do this together, whether it's your family, whatever the case is, find a source of accountability, because it makes a huge difference. The actual actions that I've taken are eating in a calorie deficit. So every day I burn more calories than I eat. I'm currently eating in about a 15% deficit, which puts me at about a pound of weight loss per week. And I want everybody to keep in mind who's listening to this, a pound of weight loss per week is healthy weight loss. I recently saw somebody post in our Facebook group that they were upset that they haven't lost more than 10 pounds. I think they started their weight loss journey in March, I believe it was. And that put them at a rate of about a pound of weight loss per week. And I commented back, I said, girly girl, you are on the right fucking track. That is a healthy and sustainable amount of weight to lose in that time period. So we're not trying to go for anything crazy, because the quicker we drop weight, the more likely we aren't able to sustain that after the cut is over. My goal is to get to a point where I am comfortable in my own skin. And let me tell you, we're getting there. Like, I feel more and more confident every single day. I feel healthier every single day. And I want to hold on to that. Like, I want to feel my best. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to put myself in a position where it's not something I can sustain long term. So that is my number one priority, my number one goal. And like I said, my ultimate goal for this cut is to get to 145 pounds. So that means I've got another at least month ahead of me. At least. Because I've got another 4 pounds to lose, and I've been losing weight at a rate of 1 pound per week. Second, I've been staying hydrated as heck. I drink 1 gallon of water every single day. When I was training clients in person, one of the first things I would tell them is get your hydration on point. And I would recommend just carrying a gallon around. And a lot of the times when you're carrying your gallon around, you're gonna end up drinking the whole gallon because it's right next to you all day and you're being constantly reminded to drink water. And they would drop weight very quickly, like 5 pounds in a week, because they were retaining so much water. So when we're retaining more water, the scale is going to reflect that. So when you flush your body of that water that you're retaining by drinking more water, I know that sounds counterproductive, but you drink more water to flush out the water retention. You're going to drop water weight. So a lot of times if you do see people drop a ton of weight in the first few weeks of their cut, then it's because they were retaining a lot of water and now finally they're hydrated. But I don't want to be in a place where I'm retaining water at all. Because first of all, if I'm dehydrated, that's going to cause the scale to fluctuate and it's going to kind of blur my perception of my cut. So I'm not going to get a clear picture of where I'm actually at if I'm dehydrated. So I'm making sure that I'm consistently hydrated so I'm not retaining any water. And of course, hydration is important just for like normal bodily function, but in context of this cut, that's why it's so important to stay hydrated. Third, 10K steps per day. 10,000 steps minimum per day. I have a desk treadmill, which helps immensely because I work from home. So if I don't walk on my desk treadmill, I'm sedentary all day long unless I'm taking Otis down for a walk, and he doesn't like to go for walks. So we literally just go downstairs, he pees, he poops, we come right back upstairs. If that was my routine every day, I would maybe hit 1,000 steps. But we burn calories outside of exercise. Non-exercise activity thermogenesis, NEAT. Basically, all of the calories we burn outside of exercise. That includes your steps, that includes, fidgeting with your fingers. It includes all the activity throughout the day that is not exercise related. So getting your steps in is a great way to increase your NEAT, the amount of calories that you burn outside of exercise. And then of course, I feel like the most obvious tip here is to exercise. I do strength training 4 to 5 times per week. I follow the Warrior Project's monthly challenges. I've been following them consistently since April 1st. I am now doing 75 hard because I like to do 75 hard once a year. It just kind of gives you that little boost in consistency and in mindset. And I'm gonna be so real with you. I have tried to do 75 hard every year since 2019, and I've only completed it 1 time. And I am determined that this time I will complete it. And I think starting 75 hard in the middle of my cut was exactly what I needed to do because one, it gave me an extra boost of motivation for my cut, and two, I already developed a more consistent and disciplined mindset because of my cut. So that's translating into my 75 hard process. But now that I'm doing 75 hard, I do fasted cardio every morning or hot yoga. It's kind of like a half and half split. I've been doing hot yoga 3 times a week, fasted cardio 3 times a week. And then Sundays I'm taking as a full rest day. I know that's like not the true 75 hard rules, but that's what I'm doing. And lastly, the most major thing has been meal prepping. Because I'm the type of person that when I'm hungry, I need something immediately. I will not cook something if I'm hungry. I just won't do it. I'm gonna go to my pantry and I'm gonna find the first thing that I can grab. Whether or not it fits into my macros, I'm gonna justify it in my head because I'm so fucking hungry. Because I'll wait to the point where I'm so hungry that like there's just no time to do anything else. I need food in my body immediately, which is ridiculous, but it is my ADHD. Let's be so fucking for real. So meal prepping, I can wait as long as I want. All I gotta do is open the refrigerator, pull the meal out, and stick it in the microwave for a minute. And I'm good to go. So every Sunday and every Thursday is kind of how it's been working out. I've been meal prepping. And I like to meal prep for only 3 to 4 days in advance, just because I like it to be a little bit more fresh. But if you're somebody who doesn't really have a lot of time on their hands, meal prepping once a week, doing it for the next 7 days, even doing it for the next 2 weeks and keeping a bunch of it in the freezer, like that works too. You have to find what works for you. Like I said, this whole podcast is basically what has worked for me and what my journey has looked like thus far. Everyone's is going to be completely different. Everyone's is going to be completely unique, and that is okay. Now, let's talk about why I'm not the biggest fan of cheat days. And like we talked about, I used to be a real big cheat day girl. That was my thing. Like, I wanted every single day to look like a Stephanie Buttermore video. I'm not joking. Now I recognize why cheat days probably aren't the best thing if you're doing them regularly, like I was. I was making the excuse that I was consistent all week. So, it's Friday, Saturday night, like I deserve a cheat meal. And I would put down 4,000 calories at the Cheesecake Factory and expect myself to make progress. But we have to remember that if we are eating in a calorie deficit, that calorie deficit, you need to reflect that calorie deficit all week long. So let's say you're in a 2,000 calorie deficit Monday through Sunday. Friday night you go out, you get a piece of cheesecake, the fettuccine alfredo, and you have a few pieces of the Cheesecake Factory bread. That's gonna put you at 2,500, 3,000 calories, putting you in a calorie surplus now. And if you're doing this on a weekly basis, then it doesn't matter how you ate Monday through Friday. If you're having that cheat meal that's putting you over your weekly deficit, then you are in a calorie surplus. So if you're somebody who is not seeing progress and you need that little indulgence on a weekly basis, one, I recommend doing what I did and just sticking to the plan for 2-3 weeks because I know you're capable of it. I know you can do it, and I was like you. I was in that fucking mindset where I was like, I need this. I deserve this. It's balance. Just try and see how you feel after a few weeks. If you just genuinely are the type of person that needs that indulgence once a week, you just need it for the sustainability of it, then plan ahead and plan accordingly so that you aren't stepping into those, like, I don't want to say danger zones, but like that red zone where you're no longer in your calorie deficit. It's so important to be choosing actions in our diet and our training and our lifestyle that align with our goals. If we're not picking actions that align with our goals, then period, point blank, we aren't going to reach our goals. Some people are okay with that. If you're the type of person that's okay with that, then you do you. But personally, I am not okay with that. I'm a very, very strong believer in doing what needs to be done to become the best version of yourself. I practice that every day. I thought I was practicing that every day, but I truly wasn't. And I think that now that I've been in this cut so long and made the progress that I have, I can see a little bit more clearly and truly say it's got to be done with some fucking backing behind it. With all of that being said, that is a wrap on episode 2. I just really wanted to give you my experience and my perspective so far. And like I said, if what I say doesn't align with your lifestyle, your values, whatever, that's okay. Take what I say with a grain of salt. You could throw it out the fucking window for all I care, but I know there are some people who are in the same boat as I'm in, so I just wanted to share my own experience. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening, and I would really, really appreciate if you could just take 2 seconds and leave a quick review. Thank you to everybody who left a review after the first episode. We already have like 20 plus reviews, which is so crazy. If you have any suggestions for future topics, or you want to share a gym, self-improvement, fitness story, whatever the case is, there will be a link down in the description to do so. Our next episode is going to be a story time episode, which I'm so excited about. I'm going to be sharing your stories and your experiences. So if you have any that you want to share, don't be shy. Let's talk about it. I will see you in the next episode.